It's cold, said the coat-hating man, but that thought is for another time, he thinks. A void is hard to traverse, so he'll need to remain focused. Though it isn't truly a void. How can it be a vast, empty nothingness if there is in fact a something that fills the nothing? From his mind comes an answer. It's unfamiliarity, fear that makes it a void. The fear of death, of what could pounce out at you from behind the next corner.
Of being in unfamiliar territory.
What's wrong, hun?
Oh, nothing, dear. Nothing at all.
He finds himself in a deadly situation, but he isn't the only one. The void never claims but one person, and this time, it has ensnared 4 in its trap. He needs to keep his thoughts to himself from now on, he decides. No need to make the void colder for everyone else.
Hey gang, can you feel that?
The youngest of the group speaks up. The ground seems to be shaking beneath him. And judging from the looks of the others, it isn't just the lack of food or water messing with his head.
It's another tremor! Grab onto each other.
The 4 grasp each other's hands, the strongest as their anchor, as the natural disaster threatens to pull them into the sky. The tremor grows more violent as the seconds pass, seemingly causing reality around them to shake. All the while, the strange place they find themselves at the mercy of crumbles around them. It isn't long before the unearthly weather the group has become all too familiar with begins to brew, small upside-down tornadoes blowing green rain. The mountains around them seem to crumble into large boulders that fall skyward as mini volcanoes form and die rapidly in violent eruptions and explosions of purple lava. Many minutes pass before the shaking stops, and by then, the only things left around them are the ground they stand on. While the others brush it off as they continue on their path, some better than the rest, the man feels as though his optimism went the way of the once prominent mountains of this bizarre plain, up into nowhere. It doesn't help that his clothes, the last thing capable of providing him comfort other than the company of his family, has been left soaking wet by the physics-defying rain.
It's cold.
As the group continues onward, the man notices patches of grass several yards away begin to bloom, wither away, die, and regrow in an instant. It would have been fascinating if he hadn't seen it 100 times before.
It's very cold.
Agent Phil Coulson has been a very busy man as of late. Over the past few years, he's been involved in numerous events surrounding superpowered beings and their enemies. He's met living legends, gods, the best of the best. He also missed his chance to snag a bagel from the TRISKELION's cafeteria during breakfast because he had to stop for gas. He knows, of course, that he should have been there much earlier if he wanted one. There are never any bagels left after the 10th person makes it to the TRISKELION's cafeteria. It was a lesson he had learned in his academy days. His instructor, a S.H.I.E.L.D. veteran, had kindly given him the advice while complaining about how he had forgotten his breakfast at home. Coulson didn't much care for the advice, though. If getting that last bagel before anyone else made someone who was otherwise miserable happy, who was he to take that moment away from them? He had other things that made him happy, and as he walks through the back hallways of the TRISKELION, he closes in on one of those things.
Hello, computer. Authorization code 6205.
Authorization verified. You may enter.
Thank you, computer.
The room he finds himself in is old and dusty. Agent Coulson doesn't come in here often, but when he does, it always brings a smile to his face. The large, old computer with a haphazardly put-together digital filing system, still compatible with floppy disks and the like. The creaky chair that brings the whole room together. The cobwebs hanging about in the corners. The room was old, but it was also nostalgic, comforting. But then there are the files themselves, a collage of floppy disks, VHS recordings, CDs with information burned on them, and finally, data chips, each containing important video files, much more important than the room itself. Coulson steps over to the files and plucks two from their resting places, a floppy disk and a data chip. He blows off the dust as he briefly scans them, revealing coded labels so as to make sure that they're the ones he's looking for. He knows they are, of course. He's been the only person who's come into this room for years. He knows every inch from wall to wall, from floor to ceiling, but he still makes sure to check every time. What kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. agent would he be if he weren't thorough?
Incident 5007, Exhibit of Legends, and Incident 1962, endpoint. Perfect.
Sitting down, he turns the computer on and places the data chip to the side of the large keyboard. First, as per usual, is the floppy disk. He types the usual password into the computer.
Password accepted. Welcome, Agent Coulson.
Thank you, computer.
He taps away at the keyboard in a flurry. He is impatient. He is happy to be revisiting the files again, but there's something else there too. A lack of motivation he desperately needs to end for a personal mission he desperately needs to accomplish. The files are the best way to regain that motivation, as they contain his reasons for undertaking this monumental task in the first place.
Coulson,
Yes, Colonel Fury?
Banner called. It looks like the good doctor was looking for a power source for a personal project of his when he detected instances of spatial disturbances in Manhattan. They were brief, but data from continued analysis of the situation seems to point to them having become more frequent as time has gone on. I'm already in contact with Stark. I need you to assemble a ground team in case something dangerous has decided to make Earth its next target.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir.
Keep an eye on the situation and keep in contact with Dr. Banner. Fury out.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no big deal. I can keep track of that and watch these at the same time. I'm an agent of the greatest spy organization in the world. Yeah, easy. That's what it will be. Easy.
The world is important. He knows that. And he knows that the world could potentially be threatened by what's happening. But he also knows that the world needs him to focus on his other goal. It's always been his goal, ever since he was assigned to S.H.I.E.L.D. He knows that S.H.I.E.L.D. has the resources necessary to succeed in what he wants, no, needs to do. He was excited when a new age of heroes began. The Avengers, Doctor Strange. He even heard whispers of a vampire cutting swaths through others like him who wanted to hurt the innocent, of a kid swinging through the city on a rope fighting crime for the little guy, and more. Their presence meant that the world had people to defend it from the worst it had to offer. But even they could fail. The Avengers revealed that much when they fought against Baron Zemo and the reinvigorated forces of Hydra.
Come on, please still work.
He inserts the floppy disk into a slot close to where he put the data chip. The computer takes a moment to process the file. It's taking much longer than it ever had before.
Come on. Come on.
File designation, Incident 5007, Exhibit of Legends, part of File Group 1895, Codename First Family, date of origin December 5th, 1961, recorded by ATBC News, unbroadcasted. Confirm?
Confirm.
Coulson is troubled by the lack of response, but then remembers that the computer is old and has been barely updated to fit the current state of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s technology.
Oh, right. Confirm.
Confirmed.
There we go. Perfect.
Agent Coulson's motivation to continue with his efforts rises just from the knowledge that the computer hasn't broken down. He thinks about his mission, about what he needs to do. They may be much older when they return, but that won't matter. The newer heroes may fail, but the Fantastic Four won't, and he'll find a way to bring them back, sooner or later.
We're on.
Mr. Richards. Mr. Richards.
Oh, yes, good. Shall we get started?
What do you think, Mr. Richards?
All right. Also, it's Dr. Richards. Do I need to introduce...
Mr. Richards.
Hello to all of you at home. My name is Dr. Reed Richards, though I'm sure most of you know me better as Mr. Fantastic, leader of the superheroic team known as the Fantastic Four. At least I know the kids will. I've been asked by the kind folks at this news station to present a, shall we say, fantastic addition to the exhibit of legends down at the TRUAL Museum.
ATBC News? We're called ATBC News.
The people at ATBC News reached out to me because the exhibit is of personal significance. If you'll follow me. Just past the sensational super soldier experience and the history of the invaders. Ah, here we are. And it seems I wasn't the only one who the fine folks at ACTB News reached out to. My colleagues in the Fantastic Four are also here.
It's ATBC, Mr. Richards.
Dr. Richards. Here they are now. Susan Richards, the elusive Invisible Girl. Johnny Storm, fiery Human Torch. And last but not least, Ben Grimm, the astounding Thing.
That's the ever-loving blue-eyed thing to you, Stretch.
This is why we shouldn't let Captain Boring handle the introductions.
Johnny, can you stop acting like a 12-year-old for 10 minutes?
What? You know what? I gotta catch up with this girl I saw a bit ago down in the fossil exhibit. I'm sure she'd love a chance with a Human Torch.
You're staying right here, mister.
Hey, family, settle down. We don't want to set a bad example for the kids at home. Now, behind my overexcited team is the main focus of this little broadcast. It is a replica of the 899 Excelsior, the rocket ship that we took to outer space on the day we gained our amazing abilities. You see, we were caught in a...
Come on, man. Everyone already knows the details. We're the Fantastic Four, for crying out loud, not a bunch of nobodies.
Cut! Christ, Richards. You and that team of yours have got to be the most dysfunctional bunch in the world.
Hey, now we're just like any other family. We aren't perfect. We fight, we bicker.
Yeah? Well, someone as smart as you should know that your family, being your hero team, ain't appropriate. How will you get the job done if you're too worried about the torch getting into trouble? He's just a kid. I said, God damn it!
He's more than capable.
Well, what about the broad? Women aren't fit to deal with this sort of thing.
Listen here. My wife is much more capable of defending herself than you will ever be. She has just as much a right to be here as any of us.
Just your wife?
Who the hell do you think you are, buddy? Telling us about the right and wrong way to go about what we do? I think we know better than you the right way to do something.
Don't get all high and mighty with me, kid. If you four knew what was best for the public, you wouldn't have a monster like that on your team. The kids are more scared of him than any movie monster.
Why, I oughta...
Ben, this guy isn't worth it. Okay, friend. If you think you're so smart, then let me ask you something. Who designed the first manned spacecraft? Me. Who created nearly invulnerable suits for me and my team? Me. Which team has outsmarted Dr. Doom more times than anyone here could count? Us. You want to criticize us? Fine. But don't try to act like you're smarter than me, my wife, Johnny, or Ben. We are smarter than you. I am smarter than you. Think about that before you shoot off half-baked arguments and insult us.
God damn it, you! Why haven't you got the damn camera already?
Agent Coulson stares at the computer screen in awe. The voices, the power behind their frames. They were all just as strong, both in body and will, as Coulson had always believed, if not more. None of them even threw a punch, and that was clear.
Man.
The wide-eyed veteran agent's own will to continue on has been recharged. His goals are as clear as ever now. Find the Fantastic Four, bring them back, and then the world's safety will be guaranteed. They're the perfect team. More than perfect. Coulson is more sure of that than ever. This mission would be next on his agenda, if he didn't have one more video file to watch. The data chip he had set aside had been on his mind even as he gleefully watched the Fantastic Four argue with the interviewer. He can't be blamed, of course. It is the most important record of the Fantastic Four's adventures in all of their short history, and the key to ensuring that his motivation to save them lasts. Eagerly, he grabs the data chip and... A thought crosses the man's mind. What if they can't get out? It was a thought he had technically had swimming around in his head for days at this point, but this was the first time he allowed himself to pay attention to the question. No amount of conjured up mental equations or hopes of a nice family dinner once they get home could have distracted him from the possibility for long. After everything they had gone through, to be stuck here would be a fate worse than death, especially knowing that he poses a greater danger than anything their home was ever faced. And if they aren't there, he brushes his spiral aside, never one to let himself give in to fear. The man keeps his inner terror from exploding out as he and his family trudge along further. He keeps his head low so as to not alert his family to the horror bubbling up from the depths of his soul.
How long has it even been, Stretch?
I don't know. 3 weeks? Maybe a month.
Bullshit! It would have taken longer to grow that beard of yours.
Maybe 3 months.
Who cares? We're going to get out of here sooner or later.
Will we?
And who cares about Reed's beard? All that matters is that I'm still as handsome as ever.
Will we get out?
Can you three stop fighting, please? We have to focus on finding a way home. It's all we can do.
The man, Reed Richards, looks up at the woman. Susan Richards, or Sue, as many call her, is at her breaking point. It is clear that the others are too. Ben is a powerhouse, but even he is hanging on the razor's edge. And Johnny's bravado can't mask the scared kid he pretends not to be. Reed asks himself if he should speak his mind, unsure if it would only make the others feel worse. But in the end, it is only rational to be honest, and Reed is a rational man.
Susan, I don't know if we will make it home. Ever.
How can you say that?
This place is hell. We'll die here before we find a way out. Name one good thing. One thing here that isn't doing its damnedest to keep us here. One thing that isn't trying to kill us, that isn't already dead. That isn't him.
We stopped him. I know we did.
We don't know that. We don't know how he works. His existence may be impossible to understand for humans. For anything. He could be immortal, or he may be able to reform after destruction.
You don't know that.
You're right. We don't know. We can't. Even if we do find a way out, we'll have no way of knowing if he's coming until he's right at our front door. And by then, we may not even be able to prepare, if we can prepare at all, with what limited knowledge we have.
She takes the frightened scientist's hands in hers and looks him in the eye.
Reed Nathaniel Richards, listen to me. We need to have hope. The man I married was chock full of it. Where is that man now?
Reed backs away from her, pulling his hands out of her grasp.
I don't know.
Ben, not one to think that any situation is hopeless, continues onwards, on his own, in silence, trying to forget the last few moments. Johnny does as well, but the fear is showing in his eyes.
Reed.
I know we'll make it out. We have to, right?
Reed looks at Susan for a long while. He will never be able to forgive himself. He knows that. All of what has happened to them is his fault after all. They're all stuck here. They are never getting out. Without warning, he begins to walk in the direction of the other two, leaving Susan behind.
We're the Fantastic Four. If anyone could find a way to get home, it's us.
She only half believes what she's saying, but half a belief is better than no belief at all, and that's enough for her. She sets off to regroup with the others, hoping beyond all hope that soon they'll find a light at the end of the dark tunnel they find themselves in.
We're the Fantastic Four.
Data chip in hand, Agent Coulson pauses, eagerness fading from his mind as he thinks deeply about the contents of the file. What if he was wrong about the effect it would have on him, and it would instead take his motivation away just as soon as he'd gotten it back? He stares at the chip, looking at the intricacies built in as he has so many times before. His hand is shaking, and he isn't proud of it. As a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, he was trained not to let fear get the better of him. But what happened to the old superhero team always gets to him when he revisits this file. Still, his training takes hold, and he grips the data chip tighter. It'll be okay, he reassures himself. what better motivation is there than the reason I'm doing this in the first place?
Okay. You can do this, Phil. You've watched this tape 577 times already. You can do this.
He grabs the floppy disk containing the file he previously watched and places it where the data chip once rested. Coulson then takes the data chip and hovers it over a cracked, screen-like pad embedded into the computer, hesitating for just a moment. Pressing the chip down, the pad lights up neon green at the bottom before the light quickly fills up the rest.
File designation, Incident 1962, Endpoint. Part of File Group 1895, Codename, First Family, Date of Origin, April 17th, 1962. Recorded by ASTERCHER News. Broadcasted. Confirm?
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Hello. This is London Urich with ASTERCHER News in Manhattan. Sad times have indeed come, my fellow New Yorkers. Today, the day of April 17th, at 6:34 a.m., an explosion occurred in the upper levels of the BAXTER building, headquarters of the Fantastic Four. At 10:03 a.m., rescue crews discovered an intact film camera that, upon further investigation, contained startling footage of what caused the violent incident. Any child presently watching should continue from here with their parents in the room so that they can ask an adult any questions they may have about the event. The footage will now play for all of those who want to see it with their own two eyes. ASTERCHER News will hold a brief moment of silence after the footage has ended.
Alright, it's rolling. Jeez, this thing is heavy.
It will only take a moment. We have to record this now because we won't have time later.
Couldn't you have just given the camera to Ben? Or, I don't know, set it up so that no one had to hold it?
Nice try, Hotshot, but I always do this when Stretch needs me to. Now it's your turn. You could stand to do a bit of heavy lifting for once.
And I need someone to hold it so it can get varied and closer looks at the machine. And the...
Fine, whatever. What the heck is this thing anyways? You said that big, bright, mirror-looking circle in the middle is a what?
A portal.
I recognize the design from your blueprints. This is the trans-dimensional gateway, isn't it?
Exactly. Johnny, focus onto the stabilizing clamps holding the portal together. I've been spending months working on it, but I finally connected it to another dimension that exists simultaneously with ours.
Another dimension? You're gonna have to explain a bit better, Stretch.
An entire other universe layered on top of ours. The oxygen seems to be breathable, some of our dimension's physical laws seem to still apply in places, but other than that, it's a whole new universe to explore. Get a closer look into the portal, Johnny.
And this is amazing. Just imagine what this could mean for science.
Cool. Can I shut this thing off now?
Not yet. I have to make an announcement first. You see, I plan on sending this footage off to news stations across the world so we can make our declaration. What declaration, you may ask? We, the Fantastic Four, are about to be the first people on Earth to discover and explore another dimension as of later today.
Later today? Are you sure about that, Reed? We need to be prepared for something like that.
Don't worry, dear. We'll be fine. Judging by the readings, we won't need to do much to prepare.
If you're sure.
Whoa, what the hell?
What's that light?
Something's coming out.
Inhabitants of the Prime Dimension, I am Paradas, protector of the Negative Zone.
The Negative Zone?
I have come to do what is necessary. The energies being emitted by this portal may alert him to the existence of your planet, and I cannot, in good conscience, allow another world to fall to him. You must forgive me.
Wait, you said your name is Paradas? Paradas, who is this him that you're referring to? Is there anything we can do to help?
This is the only chance your planet has now. I must destroy this portal so that your planet may be spared. By doing this, your world will be one of the few to escape the
Wait!
There it is, folks. With that, I must unfortunately report that the Fantastic Four, the world's first superhero family, has been killed in an explosion. If you will please join me in a moment of silence.
the skies changed color again in the negative zone. This time from purple to red. An ill omen, thinks Reed. But he doesn't need red skies to know that there's nothing they can do. They undertook this fruitless effort to return home possibly months ago. And yet...
Oh, no! Not again!
I'm sure we all know the drill by now, folks!
The four, once again, grab each other's hands using the thing as their anchor. But this time, they're having more trouble holding on. The tremors are stronger than before. The violence threatens to throw them into the sky, and Ben looks as though he's on the verge of letting go due to the strain. Reed begins to panic, his breath becoming erratic, intense, before the group is blinded by a bright, white light.
What in the...
What's that light?
Cover your eyes, honey.
Wait, it can't be.
Susan cannot believe her eyes. The source of the bright white light seems to be...
It's a portal.
Oh, what?
Are you sure about that, sis?
It is. I can see it just barely.
You mean we can finally go home?
We don't know if it will lead us home. It could take us anywhere. Maybe even somewhere worse than this.
We have to try. It's our only chance.
She's right, Reed. We can't be sure till we do it.
Reed feels a coldness in his chest. This could be it. If they decide to take this chance, they could all die. But they are prepared for that risk so long as they have even the slimmest of chances of finally getting home.
All right, Fantastic Four. This is our chance. Either we'll make it home or end up somewhere else. But whatever happens, we'll deal with it as a team, as a family. Now let go!
The four let go of each other, spiraling into the sky and towards the interdimensional portal above.
Almost there!
The light in Reed's eyes shines bright. This is it. They may finally get home. But without warning, a large boulder, broken off from the ground in the tremor, strikes Reed, causing him to be thrown off course.
Stretch!
Not on my watch. Flame on!
Johnny's form emits a great blazing light that fills the immediate area. When it fades, his body is engulfed in flames, and yet doesn't seem to harm him. He flies as fast as he can towards Reed, reaches out his right hand, and extinguishes the flame on his arm so as to not harm his friend.
Reed, you're going to have to stretch for it. I can't reach you on my own.
The endangered scientist concentrates as he reaches his arm out. Miraculously, it begins to stretch much farther than any normal human arm could, extending several yards. As Johnny inches just barely closer, as far as he can get with the sky's pull threatening to tear him away from his brother-in-law, Reed extends his arm to its very limits.
Come on! Come on!
With a great deal of effort, Reed manages to reach the young hero, grabbing onto him for dear life.
Ha ha! That's how it's done!
A great deal of pride swells up in the young man. He may have been too young once upon a time to save others in his life, but in this moment at least, he was able to save someone he loves. He doesn't know that Reed is just as proud.
Ready?
Ready!
He throws Reed with all of his strength towards the portal, flying alongside him afterwards.
Great job, Johnny.
Thanks, sis.
Now, all together again, the four close in on the portal and brace themselves for what's on the other side.
Well, here we go.
As a family.
And with a little help from my powers.
Projecting an invisible force field around them, Susan smiles at her teammates, happier than she's been in a long time. And as they enter the portal that may just bring them home, Reed's smile is just as big. Agent Coulson shifts in his seat, the creak of the chair echoing in the dark room. He looks around, thinking about the video file he's just watched. The shock slowly fades over time, as it does every time he watches the horrific events that resulted in the so-called deaths of the world's greatest heroes. He believes, though, no, he knows, that the Fantastic Four aren't dead. They're out there somewhere. Coulson takes a few deep breaths. They are still out there. And if anyone can find them, it's Agent Phil Coulson. Coulson hurriedly answers the sudden call coming through his comms earpiece.
Agent Coulson.
Colonel Fury, I swear I've been monitoring the situation with the space disturbances.
If that's the case, then why aren't you and your team mobilizing at the Baxter building? Dr. Banner detected the biggest instance yet, just a few minutes ago.
Oh, shit.
No time for feeling sorry for yourself, Agent. Assemble a team and head to the Baxter building ASAP. Fury out.
Coulson out. Okay, alright, I've got to do this. I've got to do this now.
With lives potentially at stake, Coulson quickly bolts out of the Triskelion, assembling a team as quickly as possible as he runs to the nearest S.H.I.E.L.D. helicopter. It's only when he sits down in the pilot's seat that he realizes how out of breath he is.
Shit.
As his team piles into the helicopter, Coulson looks out into the distance towards Manhattan, spotting the Baxter building peeking out over the others. He smirks.
The Baxter building, huh?
The Baxter Building, Museum of Heroics, or as many know it, the FF Museum, is quite busy today. 50 people alone are roaming the main room, which had at one point served as the Fantastic Four's main laboratory. Many other attendees roam other parts of the exhibit, such as the Fantastic Car Garage and the FF Training Room Experience. Little do they know that the museum isn't just a place to commemorate the Fantastic Four's past, but will also serve as the beginning of the missing superhero team's future. Something that will become clear to anyone in the main room in just a moment.
Whoa!
The Fantastic Four crash into a disused 61-year-old computer. They're lucky that Susan had the idea to encase them in one of her force fields, or they would be recovering from at least a few bruises.
Jeez, feels like my head got trampled by a Doombot.
It ain't that bad.
Yeah, well, I'm not made out of rocks.
It's the Baxter building.
It is? Finally. Finally.
Never before has Reed Richards felt so lucky, and never before has Susan Richards been so glad she was right. The couple embrace, holding on to each other for what seems like an eternity. But of course, as superheroes, their happy moment was always going to be interrupted, especially with everyone in the room silently staring at them.
Hey, what the hell are all these people doing here?
And what the hell are they wearing?
Johnny, watch your mouth.
Aw, come on, sis.
Hello, kind people. What are you all doing in our home?
Your home? This is a museum.
They're actors, honey. Don't be silly. They're probably just putting on a performance. You know, I heard the museum was looking into that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's gotta be
Yeah?
it.
Well, it's a pretty crummy performance.
One by one, the museum attendees sound off in agreement, yelling about how horrible the actors are at portraying their roles, and how pathetic it is that they managed to tear up their costumes during their first performance.
These folks are really starting to get on my nerves.
Susan, the force field.
Right.
Susan dissolves the force field, leaving the Fantastic Four out in the open with the hostile museum goers. Reed steps forward, attempting to quell the situation.
Listen, there's been some sort of misunderstanding. We aren't performers, we aren't actors. This isn't a museum. This is our home. We are the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, sure, wise guy.
You think you're being funny? The Fantastic Four are dead.
Dead?
What are these bozos talking about?
Who are you calling a bozo?
Annoyed at Johnny's remark, a museum goer throws a concession stand hot dog at him, getting ketchup in his hair.
Wanna try that again? Huh?
Johnny, calm down. This is just a misunderstanding. I'm sure they'll figure that out soon.
In spite of Reed's faith, the rest of the crowd joins in, throwing food and drinks at them in spades. The four try to dodge out of the way, but they still get hit quite a few times.
All right, that's it. You jerks are gonna get the hell out of our home, or I'm gonna make you leave.
Whatever.
One last drink is thrown at Ben Grimm, and the bulky orange visage of the hero begins to rumble.
Fine. You wanna fight? It's clobbering time!
Ben charges forward at the crowd, enraged beyond reason.
Ben, no!
Reed jumps forward, flattening and stretching his body out like a tarp. He grabs hold of the rampaging thing, using his body to cover Ben in an effort to hold him while he calms down. The crowd looks on in shock at the scene.
Oh my god, maybe they really are the Fantastic Four.
You're only realizing that now?
Ben, You have to get a hold of yourself. These people are innocent, even if they are rude.
In the midst of the struggle to calm the rampaging Ben Grimm down, Agent Coulson and his team arrive at the scene, perplexed by the chaotic sight.
What the?
Distracted by the sudden appearance of S.H.I.E.L.D, Reed's grip weakens. The mighty thing takes advantage of the opportunity, using his vast strength to undo the hold his friend has in him, throwing him to the side.
Lay off the brainiac, rock brain! Flame on!
Johnny flies at Ben, once again engulfed in flames, and begins to throw balls of fire at the rampaging hero.
Wait, is that...
What are those freaks? Fire!
Wait, no, hold your fire, that's...
Coulson's desperate orders fall on deaf ears as his frightened team fires at the battling heroes. Reed tries to reach his friends to stop him from coming to blows, but he's too slow compared to Johnny. And Johnny is almost in Ben's attack range.
Johnny! Ben! Stop!
In a flash, two different force fields appear around the Thing and Susan's kid brother, just in time to stop them before Ben could trade blows with Johnny that the torch wouldn't have been able to shake off. Bullets strike the force field as the Thing begins to calm down, having been isolated from the area around him.
Susie?
It's okay, Ben. Everything is gonna be okay.
I'm sorry. I got so mad.
Tell me about it.
Shut up.
Hold your fire. I said hold your fire.
Agent Coulson hurriedly makes his way to the scene, unsure of what to make of what he's seeing. It couldn't be, he thinks. Could it?
You, sir, have a lot to explain. Why did your men fire at us? S.H.I.E.L.D. should know we don't mean any harm. We're the Fantastic Four.
The Fantastic Four?
Who else could we be?
Coulson goes through a bizarre collage of utter embarrassment and total glee as his suspicions are confirmed to be correct. The strange, super-powered forms that stand before him do indeed belong to the long-missing Fantastic Four.
Terribly sorry about that. I told them to hold their fire, but they disobeyed orders. They thought the best course of action to take in order to keep you from hurting innocent civilians was to fire. They will all be discharged upon return to base.
Good. Ain't nothing more annoying than a trigger-happy S.H.I.E.L.D. goon who ain't willing to talk things out.
Yes, quite.
Coulson looks the group up and down, and a startling realization dawns on him.
You all look so young.
Hey, look at Captain Obvious over here. It's not like I'm only 17 or something.
17? How long do you all think you were gone for?
By my rough estimate, around 3 months or less.
Oh no.
Oh no? What do you mean, oh no?
It hasn't been 3 months. It's been much longer.
I'm not sure I understand.
The Fantastic Four, you four, disappeared in 1962. This is 2023.
Terror. That's the only word that describes what each member of the Fantastic Four has in common right now. 3 months. That's what they thought. But now, they've realized the truth. They've been gone for 61 years.
But how?
It makes sense now.
What do you mean, Stretch?
Reed recalls all the times in the negative zone where things would age, wither, and die in an instant, just barely close enough to where he could see them, but far enough away that nothing within several yards of him or the others was affected.
Don't you see? We must have passed through several temporal anomalies while traversing the negative zone. I thought that the accelerated decay was just a natural phenomenon native to the zone, that the only reason it wasn't affecting the areas around us was because it was focused in certain places. In reality, time was passing naturally around us, while we were caught in temporal bubbles that caused us to perceive it as only happening over the course of a few seconds.
I don't get it.
He's saying that what was only a short while for us was 61 years for everyone else.
Agent Coulson sees the looks on the group's faces. His heroes. The people he has been searching for years are standing right in front of him. And yet, in spite of his dream finally coming true, in spite of the joy he feels at the Fantastic Four finally being back, the heroes he dedicated his life to are now burdened to remain here, decades out from when they went missing, in a world much changed from what they remember. All the while, they had been expecting to return to their native time period.
If you come with me, I can do what I can to make your transition to your new surroundings much easier. S.H.I.E.L.D's had some experience with this sort of thing since you've been away.
I don't know.
It'll be good for us, hun.
She's right. I wouldn't wish this on anyone. The least I can do is try to make things less painful.
Coulson holds out his hand, hoping beyond all hope that here, now, he can help his heroes. All he needs is for them to say yes. Reed Richards looks down at the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent's clearly shaking hand. He's nervous, second-guessing himself, but Reed knows that he'll do all he can to help. Reed reaches his hand out and grasps Coulson's.
All right. I don't see why not.
Perfect. Come with me. I'll radio ahead and let everyone know what's going down, and get a meeting set up between you four and Nick Fury himself.
Coulson quickly runs off. He had been saddened by what had happened to the team, but the chance to help them adapt to the modern day has jolted his excitement into overdrive.
Nick Fury?
The four begin to follow the uppity agent. An entirely new decade, Reed thinks to himself. He ponders the choices he's made. It's his fault that this has happened. He knows that, but he doesn't know if he can tell the others, especially now. What are they going to do? They don't know. They can't know. All they know is that there will be many hardships ahead, but that's a thought for another time.
Why did this have to happen? Damn it.
It's very cold, said the coat-hating man, and he'll never be able to forgive himself for what he's done.